Hi guys, welcome to our continuous learning, and today we are starting on a new journey whereby we will be learning Oracle EBS Accounts Payable, and my goal is for us to be able to understand the Oracle financial modules, and I would like to start with Oracle EBS Accounts Payable because it's one of the major module or application that is mostly used in organization, whether they are they are in manufacturing, whether they are having other inventory items, or they are just operating as as a service provider. So financials, it's one of the key field or branch of in an organization or a department whereby it is really used heavily, and you cannot avoid or working with payables. So payable is whereby you deal with suppliers, you deal with the supplier information, the supplier invoices, supplier payments, and you can see here it's one of the major module of Oracle Financial Applications. So under Oracle Financial Applications, we usually have Oracle Accounts Payable, which we refer to it as AP. We also have under AP, we usually maintain, primarily we can say we usually maintain purchase invoices or invoices that we receive from our suppliers. And again, we usually primary function of accounts payable, we usually do payments. And of course, it's one of the 5 main financial applications on the Oracle, whereby the other ones are like something like Oracle Accounts Receivable, which we refer to it as AR, Oracle Fixed Asset, FA, Oracle Cash Management, that is CM, or you can call it CE, Cash Entry. And also we have another module which we usually call it as Oracle General Ledger. So this is among other Oracle family products, but majorly we are going to look at Oracle Financials, which is GL, AP, AR, CE, which is Cash Entry, and FA, that is a fixed asset. So basically what I would like us to look at today is a brief introduction, perhaps on what entails when it comes to interacting with Oracle EBS Accounts Payable. And to go ahead, my agenda will be to have an overview, that is a payable overview. We will have to learn about Oracle Payables Command Center. This is a very interesting feature that has been introduced, I think, in this year, 2022. Then we'll look at the suppliers. Suppliers is all about how we can be able to, how do we onboard new suppliers in the system or in our organization through Oracle Payables. Then we'll look at invoices, the type of invoices, and how are processed, how they are processed, and how they are maintained, and also how they end up get paid in Oracle Accounts Payable. Then we look at expense reports and credit cards. This relates to expenses relating to employees. Then we look at the foreign currency. We look at the accounting, how the accounting entries do we expect to see in Oracle Payables. Then we look at resource management, look at the reports, other topics like navigation, invoice payment and account default charts, Oracle Payables holds, and the final one, which is text description. So on Oracle Accounts Payables overview, we can be able to see like with Oracle Payables, you can maintain your business, suppliers details, supplier invoices, and perform supplier payments. So these are primary functions that are done mostly in many organizations. It's not limited only to these. There are some others, but this is the main one which we can you can find in so many organizations that you might end up, if you are a user or you are a consultant. These are some of the functions or features you'll be interacting with when it comes to Oracle Accounts Payable. So with that, going more deeper on the overview, we can be able to see that payables include two fully integrated workbenches, that is the Invoice Workbench and the Payment Manager. Also, you can be able to see you can perform most of your transaction in payables using the Invoice Workbench or the Payment Manager. Then the other point is that you enter, adjust, and review invoices and invoice batches in the Invoice Workbench. So those are the functions whereby you will interact now doing the transaction, real transaction. You can adjust, you can adjust an invoice, you can have reviews. Reviews is perhaps for people who doesn't have the rights to adjust or to make changes. Then we have invoice batches. They are institutional organizations which deal with invoice batches, and all these you can be able to access it through the Invoice Workbench. Then the fourth point you're supposed to note on payables overview is that you can create, adjust, and review payments and payment batches in the Payment Manager. So these are the things that you can be able to achieve when it comes to Oracle Accounts Payable, that is EBS. Then this is how the Invoice Workbench looks like, and this is just an image. I would like to take you through, or to take you on the application itself and see how it looks like. So this is the landing page for Oracle Accounts Payable. This is uniform, where Oracle EBS has been installed, especially for financials. If you are a user, if you are learning this to be a consultant, you will always meet this as a landing page for your Oracle Accounts Payable, and you'll be able to interact with the invoices. So under invoices, we have so many sub menus and also features. Maybe I can be able to take you through a bit of what it means when you see this plus here. So when you see this plus here, it means that you can be able to expand this invoices menu, because this we refer to it as a menu. If you click enter or press enter, you can see there are some other sub-menus under invoices, whereby you can as well hit enter and expand it. But now after expanding it, you will find like there is no more you cannot expand anymore. So what happens is we refer to this as the first one, the one that you can be able to expand is a menu. But now when you reach to a level whereby you cannot expand anymore, this one we refer to them as functions or features. So we have invoice batches, we have invoices, we have quick invoices, we have expense reports, recurring invoices, open interface invoices. All these are under invoices. So these are, we'll be able to learn deep and to get to understand what we do under which feature and or under which function. Okay, so the same case applies to something like inquiry. We have invoice batches inquiry, invoices, quick invoices, invoice overview, withheld amounts, accrual, light off, and this you can see it's a sub menu, so you can expand it more, and you see there are features under accrual light off. So that's what happens. Then we go to payments. So before we go to payments, allow me to give you a small overview of the Invoice Workbench, whereby we have invoice batches and we have invoices. So under invoice batches, here you can be able to organize your invoices in a collection of batches, whereby maybe you would like to have, maybe for example, in your organization you want to collect or to book invoices, like for example you group them per week or weekly. You can be able to open a batch whereby you will be recording all the invoices that you have received in that week under one batch. And when it comes to processing, you'll also be able to process as one. So invoice batches will always usually help you or the user who is using the invoice batches under Oracle Accounts Payable to group their invoices according to how they prefer. And you cannot be able, something to note is that you cannot be able to use, when you're using invoice batches, you can't use invoices. And perhaps I could have started by saying that you can use invoice batches and you can use invoices, but you can't use both of them at a go. There's a profile option whereby if you enable invoice batches, it disables invoices. If you disable invoice batches, it enables invoices. So in our case here, you can be able to open invoices, and before opening, there are these tabs here whereby you can expand or you can minimize. For example, if I want to minimize the all these submenus and features and menus, I can come here and say collapse. You can see if I point here, it's giving me the name collapse all. So it's saying that I need to collapse all. What about here? Expand all. What about here? Expand blanch. What about this? Collapse. What about this? Expand. So if I come here and click collapse, let's see what happens. You see, it has collapsed the invoice submenu, which is entry. And if I want to expand it, I can come here and click this plus sign icon here. It expands and takes us back to where we had started. So these are some of the icons that you'll be interacting with when it comes to working with Oracle Accounts Payable, or even other modules. You'll find they have these icons whereby you can click and expand or collapse as you continue working. Something else is that you would like to have a shortcut. Perhaps you don't want to keep on expanding, for example, invoices. See, for example, if I collapse these, if I want to access invoices, I'll have to come here to and expand again. But if I don't want to keep on doing that, and I usually use invoices so much, I can come and add it to a list. By adding to list, it means that I will not, once I log in this system, I don't need to continue to come and expand so that I can go up to, drill down up to invoices. So if I click this, invoices is added to top 10 list. Okay. So if I want to return it back, you can come and select it here. See now the arrow for removing from list is active. You can click here and it's no more. But if I want to add it, I can come and select here and click this arrow and it adds to the top 10 list. So once I log in, I don't have to drill all down here because I'll be having it invoices here. So I can be able to open invoices from this top 10 list, and as well I can be able to open invoices at on this main sub menu. So let me hit enter so that we can see the Invoice Workbench. There it goes. This is the Invoice Workbench, and we are working with Vision Operation of USA. it's our operating unit, and this is just for overview. We have not reached to a point whereby I'll show you how to book an invoice, what all this means. But as time goes by, as you continue learning with me, we will be able to look at it and you'll be able to understand all the functionality on this Invoice Workbench. You see it has a name here, Invoice Workbench. So a lot happens here, and a lot gets to be paid through this. Okay. All right. So another point I wanted us to look at is perhaps what contains in Invoice Workbench. And under Invoice Workbench, you can see I've prepared some few notes here whereby it's talked about there. The Invoice Workbench is a group of windows that you use to enter, adjust, and review your invoices and invoice batches. The following is the window hierarchy in the Invoice Workbench. So I've taken you through this, which is invoice batches, whereby you can be able to find the invoice batches. Then we have invoices, invoice actions. When it comes to invoice actions, you can be able to validate. You usually validate an invoice when you create an invoice. Before you make a payment, you have to validate it. Then you have to submit your invoice for approval if there is approval hierarchy. When you talk about approval hierarchy, it's also a topic by itself whereby you're supposed to understand how you can define or set up the approval hierarchy. The approval hierarchy is whereby the person who creates an invoice is not the person who approves it. So once they create an invoice, they submit it for approval. So all that happens under invoice action, and invoice action is nothing than this one here. You can see this icon button here. Once there, you have booked or provided the invoice details here. You're supposed to come here and click here. Once you click here, you can be able to see this all this function. Allow me to perhaps to book one. Something else to note before I start booking an invoice, you can be able to see like we have the several segment of this Invoice Workbench. So on this upper area, whereby you are seeing these lines and these fields and icons, this one we usually refer to is an invoice header. On the invoice header, you provide the operating unit, customer tax ID, type, PO number, trading partner. You can expand if you wish. Trading partner is the same as supplier. So then we have the supplier number, then supplier site, invoice date, okay, all the way, invoice date, invoice number. You can provide any relevant information based on the nature of the transaction and also how you relate and the information you have with your supplier. When I talk about how you relate, it depends with even things to do with payment terms, payment method. You can see here we have payment terms and payment method. All that differs per individual supplier. So with that, it will also help you to be able to maintain the tax information that you are relating with, that relate to this supplier, because if you are coming from an accounting background, you can be able to understand that we have a different tax approach per even a country, per even a jurisdiction, also per the nature of the transaction you are engaging with a supplier. For example, a supplier who is providing services, you might find they have a tax that is different from a supplier who is providing goods or selling goods to your organization. So all those interactions, you will be able to get to understand how to maintain that information under the invoice header. Under invoice header through Oracle Accounts Payable, you'll be able to understand how you can be able to provide that information here. And the other thing is that from now, the upper side, whereby we have the invoice header, we have the lower side, whereby we refer to it as the invoice line. And we refer to it as invoice line because of we provide information under lines. So for now, it cannot provide, accept, the system cannot accept to navigate to lines because we have not provided the header information. So something else you're supposed to note is that under these fields, you can see we have fields which has different colors. This one looks like orange, and we have white. So what happens? The orange fields, these are mandatory. You have to provide some information based on the nature of information. If, for example, is operating unit, you have to provide operating unit that's that is relating to this field. You can see, for example, here we have a customer tax ID. This is not mandatory, but for operating unit, it's mandatory for you to be able to move to the next level. Like, for example, to lines, you have to provide the information in all fields which are having this orange color. So, for example, we are dealing here with let's say vision operation. So you can write some part of the name and hit on tab. You see it's auto-populate because it's in the database. So on the customer tax ID, we don't need to provide this information. It's not a mandatory. You can book an invoice without it. Then you go to the next, which you can see here we have like the invoice type. We have several invoice types, but we'll look at them in a later stage. You will understand all these, what they do, and how you can apply them on different scenarios or different business scenarios or processes. So for now, let's work with the standard. I'm booking this so that you can understand this function for now. And then something else to note is that, for example, if you are booking a supplier, you are an invoice for a certain supplier, and maybe you know the name or you know the supplier number, you can provide any. For example, there's a supplier I've maintained here called Amazon 2. If I just type the name Amazon, remember trading partner is the supplier name. You're supposed to provide supplier name here. So if I just type the name Amazon and hit on tab, the system is telling me there is a prepayment available for application to invoices for this supplier. This is just a by the way. Just say okay. But I'm not interested on this Amazon. But the point is, I've just provided the name Amazon, but not the full. So if I add Amazon 2 and hit tab, see it has changed. Even the supplier number has changed. So this is the supplier that I wanted to book with. And if you know exact name of the supplier, you can provide it here. And if you know the supplier number, for example, let's say this is 10043. Let's clear this and also clear this. Then come here and provide 10043 and hit tab. You see the system is querying or pulling the supply information that has been maintained. So this is all about Invoice Workbench. So I don't want to go much deeper in this level because it might confuse you, because you don't even understand where this supply is coming from. So the first thing you're supposed to understand is we should be able to maintain this supply in the system. But how? That is a topic for another day. So let me just book this supplier so that you can see the functions under actions. So today's date is 23rd November 2022. Invoice number. Invoice number usually provide the invoice number that is coming or that is maintained in the invoice that you receive from the supplier. That hard copy or soft copy, the invoice that is coming from the supplier. For this one, because it's just for test purpose, you can just give anything like test 24th November 22 tab. The invoice currency, this invoice currency, you can see here, it's USD. Then amount you can see is 3 USD, let's assume. Then you scroll on your right, you see there are some fields which are mandatory, but they are already auto-populated with values. So you come close, maybe these invoices, these are payment terms. These are information I told you have to negotiate or to understand with your, to come to an agreement with your supplier. And then you come and now maintain them on something we call supplier side. That is also another information or another training you learn on when we'll be booking a supplier newly in the system, or maybe adjusting the information in the system. You learn and understand all these terms, date, terms, and payment method. So for this one, I can click immediate. I can provide immediate. I want to pay immediate, and maybe payment I want to pay electronically. So I scroll on the right, and there's no any other mandatory field. So with that, I can come. I can even save. This is a saving, function here or icon. You can see when you point at it, it's giving the name save. You can click save. Once you click save, you can now proceed to lines. Under lines, you provide the amount, the same amount you're paying here. Like for example, here is the tax amount is 3. You come and provide 3, and you tab. Then the same goes with the header lines, whereby you can be able to scroll on your right and see where there is any other field which is mandatory. For this case, we have only number, type, and the amount. So with that, you're supposed to provide distribution. What are you paying? But this is an information that you're not supposed to have much light now, because it's all about booking the invoices. And here you provide the account, and you can provide any, because it's a test, and you save. Once you have saved, you're supposed to come and now you come and action. Once you click action, this is what I wanted you to see. Under our notes here, we can see we have validation, validate related invoices, and apply or unapply payment, and others. So these are what I'm talking about. There is validate, validated related invoices, cancel invoices, apply and apply. There is pay in full, create accounting, force approval, initiate approval, stop approval, release, hold, print. All these, you will get them under this function here. So, and now there are others like calculate tax. Calculate tax, if I cancel this one, there is this calculate tax, tax details, corrections, quick match, and or distribution. You can see the notes are very clear about all that. So you need, as a user or as a consultant, you need to understand all these features. What do they do? Okay. Then the other one is about the payment manager, and on payment manager module enables you to complete pay run from start to finish by seamlessly navigating between Oracle Payables and Oracle Payments. A pay run is a process by which a group of invoices is selected and processed for payment. The payment manager in Oracle Payables is a module comprised of the following components. So we have payments dashboards, we have templates, we have payment process request, payment instructions, and payments. So with that, more is that the payment manager can enable you to perform the following payment action. You can be able to create payment process request templates by specifying invoices selection criteria. So this is whereby you can be able to query all the invoices perhaps that have not been paid and select the ones that you want to pay and perhaps some that you don't want to process for payment. Then the other point is that you can use templates to select invoices to pay that meet the payment criteria. You can schedule here the pay runs, automatically submit invoices via payment process request to Oracle Payments for processing and payments. You can as well initiate payment instructions, view the status of the payments, void or record or stop payments. So let's see on the application how does the payment manager look like. So this was all about the Invoice Workbench, and at least I hope you have gotten some points on all these, but we'll go deeper in future learning when we'll get the level of invoices. So allow me to close this and collapse all, and we go to payments, because we are trying to have an overview of payments, invoices and Invoice Workbench and Payment Workbench. Remember, these are the primary functions of Oracle Accounts Payable. Yes, we have others, like for example accounting, payables command center, employees, credit cards, setup. So there is a lot we learn about setup, especially for someone who is learning this for them to become a consultant. And workflow, funds, payables, dashboards, suppliers. Here is where we will learn about how to create a new supplier in the system, and we have others. So for this lesson, or for the introduction bit of it, let's just look at the Invoice Workbench and Payment Manager Workbench. So under payment, you expand the payments, then you expand entry, then you have Payment Manager. So if I hit enter, the system is taking us on a web page. So this is how the payment workbench looks like. So you can be able to submit cash requirements report, create templates, schedule payment process request, submit single payment process request, create printed payment, create electronic payment instruction, review completed payments, stop or void payments. So this is how the workbench looks like, and payments workbench look like, and we'll look at it more in future lessons. So with that, I think I will conclude for today, and I will prepare the next video for you to continue learning. Thank you very much for watching and supporting this channel.